encounter it. I know, just like anything else that I did, I have to find a way to cope with it.
At 92, Yoko Ono has lived through nearly a century of love, loss, and music history. But recently, she surprised the world with shocking words about Paul McCartney. For decades, Yoko was blamed for breaking up the Beatles, while Paul often carried the weight of keeping the band's legacy alive. Their relationship has always been complicated, sometimes cold, sometimes respectful. But what she just revealed about Paul has left fans speechless. This is not just another story about the Beatles, it's a story about forgiveness, hidden truths, and the surprising bond between two legends. When the Beatles broke up in 1970, Yoko Ono became the lightning rod of blame. Fans accused her of tearing apart the most famous band in history. Paul McCartney, meanwhile, was seen as the one struggling to hold things together. For years, the media painted Yoko and Paul as rivals. She was the outsider. He was the golden boy. The tension between them seemed permanent. But now, looking back, Yoko has revealed that things were never so simple. She admits she underestimated Paul, and that behind the anger, she saw his true devotion to the band. In her shocking words, Yoko Ono shared something fans rarely consider: Paul McCartney's pain after the Beatles' breakup. She described how Paul carried guilt, trying to be the peacemaker while everyone else pulled away. Yoko admitted that back then, she didn't realize how much pressure Paul was under. He was holding on when the others were ready to let go, she said. For years, Yoko thought Paul was just being controlling. But at 92, she confessed she now sees his actions differently. He loved John, and he loved the band, she admitted. That was his way of fighting for it. Paul and Yoko often clashed publicly after John Lennon's death in 1980. Paul wanted to honor the Beatles' music, while Yoko fiercely guarded John's legacy. For decades, they were caught in a tug-of-war over history. Who was the real genius, John or Paul? Yoko fueled the rivalry, often saying John carried the band's creativity. Paul, on the other hand, quietly resented her dismissive words. But now, at 92, Yoko admitted something shocking. She believes Paul's songwriting was just as essential as John's. Without Paul, there would be no Beatles, she confessed. Words fans thought they would never hear. Behind the scenes, there was always a layer of respect. Yoko revealed that after John's death, she sometimes received letters and kind words from Paul. They weren't close friends, but Paul would check in. Yoko admitted she never said it before, but those small gestures touched her deeply. She even revealed that Paul once told her, "I'll always keep John's spirit alive in the music." At the time, she brushed it off, but now she admits it showed Paul's heart. Yoko shocked fans when she said, "He loved John almost as much as I did." At a recent private gathering, Yoko's words about Paul stunned even those close to her. She admitted that time has changed her perspective. "I fought him in public for years," she said, "but he was never my enemy." Fans couldn't believe it. After decades of icy distance, Yoko was finally giving Paul credit. She admitted that much of their tension was built on pride and grief. "We were both protecting John in our own ways," she confessed. Her honesty left the room silent. For the first time, Yoko admitted the rivalry was more about love than hate. When Paul heard about Yoko's words, sources close to him said he was deeply moved. For years, Paul has tried to soften the bitterness between them, often speaking kindly about John despite the pain. To hear Yoko, at 92, finally acknowledge his importance was something he never expected. Paul reportedly said, "It means a lot coming from her." After decades of cold distance, this small moment of recognition felt like healing. Fans around the world wondered, could this be the final closing of a chapter that began over 50 years ago? Yoko shocked fans further by admitting something she had kept quiet for years. She revealed that Paul's bond with John inspired some of John's greatest songs. Their rivalry pushed each other to greatness, she said. For decades, she insisted John stood apart. But now, she admits that without Paul, John wouldn't have reached the same heights. This revelation was powerful. At 92, Yoko was finally rewriting the narrative. She told fans their love for each other was real. It was complicated, but it was love. These words reframed how fans will forever see John and Paul's partnership. For years, Yoko remained silent on Paul, speaking only when necessary. But now she admits that silence was a mistake. "I should have told him sooner that I respected him," she confessed. Fans were shocked by her vulnerability. She said she always feared that admitting Paul's genius would somehow overshadow John. But now, with age and wisdom, she realizes it was never a competition. Her shocking words showed fans that even icons can change their perspective. And for many, it was the first time they felt Yoko truly embraced Paul as part of John's spirit. The reaction from fans was explosive. For decades, Beatles fans were divided. Team John or Team Paul. Yoko's words suddenly blurred that line. Social media lit up with shock and admiration. Some fans admitted they never thought they'd live to see Yoko give Paul such praise. Others felt this was a healing moment, not just for Paul, but for Beatles history itself. "It's like the final piece of the puzzle," one fan wrote. Yoko, at 92, had given her blessing, something that felt impossible in all the years before. In her final words on Paul, Yoko left fans speechless. "John loved Paul," she said softly, "and I loved that about him." For the first time, she admitted that she saw Paul not as a rival, but as John's other half in music. At 92, Yoko is no longer protecting old battles. She is preserving truth. Her shocking words about Paul McCartney remind us all that time can heal wounds. Decades of rivalry, bitterness, and blame seem to fade away in her final admission. Fans now see Yoko and Paul in a new light. Two people forever bound by John Lennon's spirit. Yoko surprised many by recalling her first memories of Paul McCartney. She admitted that in the late 1960s, before the Beatles' breakup, she often saw Paul as distant. "He didn't know what to make of me," she said. But she also revealed something few had heard before. Paul sometimes tried to include her, offering small acts of kindness. She remembered him asking about her art, though at the time she thought he was just being polite. Looking back, she realized he was genuinely curious. He wasn't cruel, she admitted. He was cautious. Her honesty painted Paul not as cold, but as a man protecting a fragile band at its breaking point. At 92, Yoko decided to send a public message to Paul. She wanted to clear the air for good. "Paul," she said, "thank you for keeping John alive through the music. You carried a burden most people never understood." These words shocked fans, because for decades, Yoko and Paul rarely addressed each other directly. This time her voice carried no rivalry, only gratitude. She admitted she wished she had said it sooner. Fans wondered if Paul would reply, but many felt he didn't need to. Her words alone were enough to close a chapter that lasted half a century. As Yoko looked back on her long life, she spoke about healing, not just for herself and Paul, but for the millions of fans who carried the wounds of the Beatles' breakup. "Music should unite, not divide," she said. John and Paul gave the world that gift together. Her shocking praise of Paul McCartney wasn't just about the past, it was about rewriting history with compassion. Fans who once chose sides, John or Paul, Yoko or the Beatles, felt something new. Peace. At 92, Yoko Ono didn't just shock fans with her words about Paul. She gave them closure.